Hello guys, I'm back with another top 3 weapons video for you today. You guys seem to like the last one, so I thought why not, let's have a look at some of the best full auto assault rifles in the game at the moment. As you all know, a great deal has changed in the past few weeks ever since the TTK update and the more recent hotfix. Some weapons went from being somewhat viable in 5.2 to either completely redundant or completely dominant. You can probably guess the weapon I'm referring to, but let's not spoil it just yet. As always, I've tried to rank the weapons as best as I can while offering up different options and playstyles. So hopefully at the end of this video you should have a clear idea of which AR is best suited for each role and the best loadout for each one. Also, do let me know your top 3 assault rifles in the comments down below, and leave a like if you would like to see me make one for semi-auto rifles next. So starting off in third place, I've gone for the Rebay Rolls. Prior to 5.2, the Rebay Rolls was the weakest AR in the entire class in terms of just raw TTK. The slow rate of fire and the universal damage model that applied to all ARs left it unable to compete from practically all ranges. Whether that be in the perfect environment or not, the TTK difference was just a fraction too large to warrant a pick. However, 5.2 has revitalized the Rebay Rolls by giving it a unique damage model, handing it a clear long range advantage over the others. The Rebay Rolls went from 4 to 6 to 5 to 7 bullets to kill, which turns out to be an extra bullet in close quarters and from long range. That's not too rough when you compare it to the rest who all got severely nerfed over range and need to land a ton more bullets. So from about 70 to 75 meters onwards, you should be able to comfortably beat any other assault rifle. Even if you and your opponent miss as many shots, you should still come out on top. But that's not the only reason why it's so effective from long range. The 25% recoil reduction that came along with 5.2 further boosted its accuracy and made it super easy to handle. I would go as far as saying it's the best full auto weapon in the game for landing consecutive headshots in a row, and that will significantly impact the outcome of your gunfights. I would also highly recommend using a 3x scope, not only to maximize its range but to supplement its high accuracy trait. If you don't tend to use a 3x scope for whatever reason, then you may as well use a different assault rifle, as it struggles to compete head on in close quarters against virtually any other weapon, and the lack of magnifications means that you won't be able to take advantage of its main strength. Overall, the Rebay Rolls is a slow firing AR with laser beam accuracy and best suited for medium to long range engagements. Whether it's optimal to use a full auto AR for long range engagements is another topic in itself for another day, but as long as you keep a safe distance from SMGs, use the bipod when possible, and strictly reserve it for medium to large size maps, then you shouldn't come across many difficulties. For specializations, I went for quick aim to reduce the ADS delay, a must have in my opinion, as a 3x scope takes longer to ADS than any other sight. My second pick is custom stock, and that reduces the spread when firing while moving. The reason is, whenever I engage a player in close quarters, I tend to strafe to avoid getting hit, and because your weapon produces more spread when moving compared to being stationary, you want to offset the spread increase as much as possible to help with your accuracy, which in the grand scheme of things makes it easier to achieve the optimal TTK. For my third pick, I went for high velocity rounds, and it's probably the most important specialization, as it increases the bullet speed from 600 meters per second to 680 meters per second. It may not sound much at all, but no other assault rifle is given the option to increase their velocity, so it's pretty valuable, I would say. Having a faster bullet speed offers up additional range, making it easier to land on distant targets and moving targets, while at the same time reducing the TTK over distance. It's really important you do the same to fully maximize the Rebay Rolls' long range potential. And for my fourth specialization, I went for barrel bedding to reduce the spread when stationary. Again, the benefits are similar to that of custom stock and improves your accuracy in aimed fire, but when stationary. This will greatly benefit you on those larger maps like Hamada, where you can for the most part easily fire while being stationary without being taken out so easily. It's also really helpful when defending on modes like Breakthrough, when you tend to spend most of your time stationary on the front line. And lastly, I wouldn't recommend taking the left side of the tree unless you've got a hipfire assignment to do so. It's a no-go for me. Next up, in second place, I've gone for the M1907 SF. Now, this weapon went on a bit of a rollercoaster ride, and at some point in time was the deadliest assault weapon in game, Of course, a lot has changed since then, and at first it seemed like the TTK update simply put the nails in the coffin, yet somehow the most recent hotfix brought it back to life. Whether it's on life support or not is up for debate, but its lethality in close quarters is not. It's presently as deadly within 10 meters as it was prior to the TTK update, so there's not much of a difference if you can manage to stick to extreme close quarters. When you compare the M1907 to the rest of the arsenal, it's still got the best TTK, but that's been narrowed down massively to 15 meters, whereas before it was unbeatable up to twice the distance in the perfect environment. One of the main reasons the M1907 loses its lethality past 15 meters is that the bullets to kill sharply increase from there onwards. By the time you get to 41 meters, you'll need to land 8 bullets to kill, whereas the SCG only requires 6. That's a difference of 2 and is a massive difference when you take into account your own accuracy and hit rate. The small 20 round magazine doesn't help either and only further amplifies the problem you get from a high bullet to kill model. So you will find yourself constantly reloading after every single kill, and it's something you'll need to get used to very quick. Plus the reload speed isn't that quick either, so you will find yourself exposed when reloading. Therefore I would say good positioning and movement is more vital than ever. However, one thing that isn't as important is good recoil control. The M1907 received about a 50% horizontal and 40% vertical recoil reduction, so anyone should be able to land most of their shots on target without needing to learn how to burst. The lower recoil has also made the 3x scope a somewhat viable alternative, which wasn't really an option before, and the extra range will help with medium range targets, but the reflex sight should still be your go-to optic. Overall, the M1907 is a fast firing AR with a relatively quick time to kill and is best suited for extreme close quarters only. None but a few SMGs can compete against it within arm's reach, making it perfect for infantry only maps like Operation Underground and modes like Grind. Just don't expect to get loads of multi-kills. My best tip is to close the distance, isolate your target and turn it into a 1v1 to get the upper hand. For specializations, I went for quick aim as I'm using a sight, but if you aren't, then you should definitely go for slings and swivels, and that will improve your sprint out time by 50%, allowing you to shoot sooner after sprinting. It will definitely benefit you if you tend to move around a lot and will make your weapon perform better in close quarters against hip-firing SMGs who tend to dominate within that space. My next two specializations are recoil buffer and custom stock, and that will further improve my ADS accuracy and make the weapon overall easier to use. However, I do sometimes take the left side of the spectre, which will improve the hipfire, and when paired with slings and swivels, you get SMG-like abilities that make it even more suitable for infantry focused maps. The point I want to get across is just don't stick to one path and try to adapt to the environment around you. For example, left side for Operation Underground and right side for Rotterdam and etc. And for the last specialization, just pick your poison. I tend to leave it blank mainly because of personal preference. I don't like increasing my movement speed on the controller as that affects my aim, and I'm not too sure if the bayonet increases the sprint out time like it did in Battlefield 1. Either way, I probably wouldn't make much use of the bayonet anyway, so pick whatever you like and just go with it. And last but not least, in first place, I've chosen the STG-44. Prior to 5.2, the SDG wasn't really exceptional at one particular thing or another and didn't really stand out much from the rest, but that's not the case anymore. The current version is without a doubt the best assault rifle in the game, and nothing comes close to it for several reasons. First of all, the TTK changes haven't really affected the SDG as much as you would think. As it stands, the TTK within 30 meters remains identical to what it was prior to the update, so there isn't a fraction of a difference between the two versions within 30 meters, and if you take the recoil buff into account, then you could argue the SDG is more lethal than ever before, as more players are likely to land all their shots and achieve the fastest TTK more consistently. This wasn't always the case, as less skilled players would struggle with the recoil and miss a few shots because of it. In other words, you could say the SDG is more accessible and user friendly, meaning everyone is a lot more likely to achieve the TTK on paper. Of course, if you engage anyone beyond 30 meters, you will start to feel the effects of the bullet to kill changes, but not as badly as the others. For example, when you compare it to the Sturmgewehr 1.5, The STG is categorically better from literally 0 to 100 meters. The rebay rolls isn't a match until 75 meters, and the M1907 is no threat outside of extreme close quarters. Not to mention the STG is extremely versatile now and can perform really well on any size map by simply attaching a scope, and that will allow you to go toe to toe with mid-range LMGs like the BAR and the KE7. Overall, the STG is a monster of a rifle at the moment that can perform exceptionally well from most ranges depending on how you set it up. The new 4 to 8 bullets to kill model combined with its low recoil allows it to literally laser anyone within 30 meters without sacrificing the TTK. I simply can't think of any downsides, and I don't see a reason why you should pick any other assault rifle over the STG outside of just experimenting. For specializations, I took the right side of the tree for my first 3 specializations. I can imagine you guys are familiar with all the benefits of each one, so I won't go into further detail. And my last pick is custom stock instead of recoil buffer. I don't think recoil buffer is necessary because of the 20% recoil reduction we received from 5.2, but depending on your individual skill you may or may not need it. So those are my top 3 weapons in the assault class, and I'm keen to know what you guys think. Don't forget to share your top 3 as well. Feel free to leave a rating, and I'll see you later. Take care.